Hi, this is Kendall Boyson, professional life and recovery coach, and you're listening to Encouragementology, the practice of instilling hope. You are listening to Encouragementology, and we are talking about looking in the mirror for the who instead of the what. How much of your worth is measured on what you do and what you think you are instead of who you are? Let's not beat around the bush and just get right to it, right? Who are you? Who do you aspire to be? And who do you want to see you? It's important to separate accomplishments and accolades, trials and failures to find the real you, your core. The you that's inherent even when the world has tried to shape and mold you to fit their whims. Let's focus on finding you. The who versus the what. So what do you see when you look in the mirror? Right now, I see someone in desperate need of a haircut, color, and facial. And if I'm not required to look at least decent in a reasonably short amount of time, I'm going to forget how. But I also see someone who is human. Someone who's resilient, patient, positive, enthusiastic, passionate, driven, dedicated, but human. Someone who has been challenged and as a result hasn't always been kind to herself. Someone who looks to solve and fix the world's problems, but someone who is human. It's okay to be human. It's okay to have days you don't feel proud or moments you wish you could forget. But it isn't okay to bury the real you under the need to please others and become someone you aren't because you were told you weren't okay the way you were. It isn't okay to measure your worth on what you could or could not accomplish. This is your one beautiful life. And if you don't see it that way, then let's see what or who is standing in your way and blocking your vantage point. I'm not saying it's easy. The road to self-discovery is windy and long and at times bumpy, but in the straightaways, so worth it. Societal perceived pressures are not making it any easier, that's for sure. Accomplishments, wealth, beauty, success, and fame are not only all around us, but plated up and in our face daily, nay, hourly. It's not easy to feel like you measure up, and as a result, you focus on the what. Sharon Alder says, personality begins where comparison leaves off. Be unique, be memorable, be confident, be proud. Maria Stenvinkel shares 13 things to do instead of comparing to others in an article she wrote for Tiny Buddha. You know, you shouldn't compare yourself to others. We know that. Yet that's often easier said than done. Job title, income, grades, house, and Facebook likes. The number of categories in which we compare ourselves to others are infinite. So is the number of people we compare ourselves to. Comparison is generally the fast track to unhappiness. It's the recipe for misery. All it does is keep you focused on what you don't like about yourself and your life. So, here are 13 simple ways to stop comparing yourself to others. Number 1, water your own grass. When we focus on other people, we lose time. And that's time we could otherwise invest in ourselves. We don't grow green grass by focusing on our neighbor's garden. We do it nurturing our own. So instead of wasting time comparing your path to someone else, spend it investing, creating, and caring for your own. Number 2, accept where you are. You can't change something you don't acknowledge. So instead of resisting or fighting where you are, come to peace with it. Say yes to every part of your life. And from that place, make decisions that will move you in the right direction. Number 3, love your past. Your life might have been messy and bumpy. It might have been colored by mistakes, anxiety, and fear. But all those things were catalysts to help you become a better, wiser, and more courageous version of yourself. So, embrace your story and how much you've grown from it. Be proud of what you've done for wanting to create a better life for yourself. That's a hard one. Love is a strong word here. When I look back, it's hard to accept not to mention love all my actions. Some things have left scars that I've worked really hard to heal, and others left remnants which are shallow and when exposed can conjure up some painful feelings. Remember, it's okay to be human, but understanding that changing the past is out of your control. So learning from it and letting go is your only option. Number 4, do a social media detox. We are constantly bombarded with people who #live their blessed lives on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. What we don't consider is that we often compare our own worst moments with someone else's highlights. Social media can be a great source of inspiration, but if it triggers inadequacy, self-doubt, and frustration, then choose to do a detox. Make sure you control social media and not the other way around. It does have a unique way of sucking you in. For so many, it's a time waster. But the problem is that absorption still makes a measurable impact. Unless your feeds are strictly limited to precious puppies and cuteness kittens, then you are gathering and digesting impressions from other people. Some can be uplifting, just as many or more may not be. Number 5, know that this isn't the end of the movie. If you're not happy where you are today, remember that this is just a snapshot of your life. Where you are today doesn't say anything about where you'll be 1 or 3 years from now. What matters isn't where you are. What matters is your mindset, attitude, and who you are. Number 6, be grateful for what you have. Oprah said, be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more if you concentrate on what you don't have. You will never have enough. I wish I could say that in my Oprah voice. Whenever you find yourself looking at what other people have, remind yourself of what you're grateful for. So, shift focus from what you don't have to what you do have. Sounds simple, right? Number 7, decide not to let fear guide your choices. The choices we make are either based on love or fear. What decisions have you made that are fear-based decisions out of insecurity and a feeling of scarcity? Make sure love is the foundation for your choices. To stay on track, ask yourself a powerful question. What would love do right now? Love-based decisions nurture you instead of pleasing others. Number 8, realize that you're not perfect. There will always be someone who's richer, smarter, and more attractive than you. No one is perfect. Trying to be perfect is not the solution. So instead of getting down on yourself for your flaws, quirks, and imperfections, accept them fully. Free yourself by embracing the fact that you're perfectly imperfect. Number 9, be your own ally. That means voice in your head, the one that calls you all kinds of negative things like you're boring, you're stupid, you're ugly, usually in the comparison of others. Instead of joining in when the mean voice of comparison pops up, choose to be on your side. Relieve, soothe, and comfort yourself. Give yourself regular pep talks. And if you wouldn't say it to a friend, don't say it to yourself. Number 10, turn comparison into inspiration. We tend to compare our behind the scenes with someone else's big moment. We tend to focus on their success, not on the thousands of hours they've spent preparing and working for their achievement. Instead of letting other people's triumphs be a time to get you down on yourself, let it be a door opener to possibilities. Let it be an inspiration for what you can do. Number 11, stop shoulding yourself. Comparison often leads to us shoulding all over ourselves. We say things like, I should have done this by now, or I should have come further. But statements like that just keep us focused on what we're lacking. Instead of using should when expressing commitments, use want. And notice how your inner dialogue shifts. Number 12, compare yourself with you. If you need to compare yourself with someone, try yourself. What can you do to improve your life quality? How can you be a better and more loving person? How can you be nicer to yourself than you were yesterday? You are the only person you can compare yourself with. And number 13, tell a better story. If the story you're telling yourself isn't one of empowerment, strength, and optimism, then just tell a better story. Instead of telling yourself you're not competent enough to do the work you want to do, tell yourself you're brave enough to try something new. Instead of blaming yourself for mistakes in the past, remind yourself that you did the best you could and that you've learned from it. Comparing ourselves to others often leaves us feeling frustrated, anxious, and paralyzed about moving forward. It doesn't help one single bit in creating the life we want. Instead, it just takes away vulnerable time and energy that we could have spent on building our future. Focus on you. Focus on watering your grass and building your path. Focus on being the best that you can be and share that with the rest of the world. For as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a movie star, not an actress, but a movie star. To me, this represented glamour, lights, cameras, fame. If you ask me, I would say I wear a long, sparkling red dress, and I used to kiss my parents goodnight, twisting my head back and forth like a true Hollywood-style kiss. As soon as I was able, I was trying out for plays and hosting my own. Thank goodness I didn't have YouTube during my formative years. I've always had the gift of gab, so I guess sales was the next natural step when the talent agents weren't all fighting to sign me. I love presenting information and the art of negotiation. I'm extroverted, and I have been told more than once, politely persistent. I've been successful on my chosen career path, but that's not who I am. That's what I do. Professionally, I am direct, aggressive, and will go to the mat defending my point of view. But personally, I'm more agreeable, kind, flexible, and compassionate. I will always be outspoken, but I don't always share my feelings. Instead, I worry about how others feel, and I work to make sure everyone is comfortable and well-loved. Who am I? I would love to say a healthy mixture of both. At least that's what I strive for. I would like the care and compassion to enter into my professional life and the assertiveness and strong voice to enter into my personal life. To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. This famous quote is often attributed to Socrates. But what exactly do you know when you know yourself? As you live your daily life, you can look for clues to these important building blocks of the self. Mel Selwig, the author of Change Power, 37 Secrets to Habit Change Success, gives us some insight in an article she wrote for Psychology Today. Know yourself. 6 specific ways to know who you are. But first, why is it important to know yourself? Maybe it's obvious, but here in a nutshell are a few reasons why you might want to know your own nature. Happiness. You'll be happier when you can express who you are. Expressing your desires will make it more likely that you get what you want. Less inner conflict. When your outside actions are in accordance with your inside feelings and values, you will experience less inner conflict. Better decision making. When you know yourself, you're able to make better choices about everything, from small decisions like which sweater you'll buy to big decisions like which partner you'll spend your life with. You'll have guidelines you can apply to solve life's varied problems. Self-control. When you know yourself, you understand what motivates you to resist bad habits and develop good ones. You'll have the insight to know which values and goals activate your willpower. Resistance to social pressure. When you're grounded in your values and preferences, you're less likely to say yes when you want to say no. Tolerance and understanding of others. Your awareness of your own struggles can help you empathize with others. Vitality and pleasure. Being who you truly are helps you feel more alive and makes your experience of life richer, larger, and more exciting. Now that you're convinced that self-knowledge is worth having, not that you needed any convincing, we'll move on to those vital signs of self-knowledge. The building blocks of self, your vitals. The letters in vitals stand for values, interests, temperament, around the clock, life mission and goals, and strengths and skills. So let's break them down, shall we? The V is for values. Values such as helping others, being creative, health, financial security, and so on are guides to decision-making and motivators for goals. Research shows that just thinking or writing about your values can make it more likely that you take action, healthy action. The motivation provided by worthwhile values can also keep you going even when you're tired. If you want to self-motivate, know your values. The I stands for interests. Interests include your passions, hobbies, and anything that draws your attention over a sustained period of time. To figure out your interests, ask yourself these questions. What do I pay attention to? What are you curious about? What concerns you? The focused mental state of being interested in something makes life vivid and may give you clues to your deepest passions. The T stands for temperament. Temperament describes your inborn preferences. Do you restore your energy from being alone, i.e. introvert, or from being with people, extrovert? Are you a planner or a go-with-the-flow type of person? Do you make decisions more on the basis of feelings or thoughts and facts? Do you prefer details or big ideas? Knowing the answers to temperament questions like these could help you gravitate towards situations in which you could flourish and avoid situations in which you could wilt. I always thought I was laid back, but others laugh when I say that. I guess the word that better describes my temperament is flexible. I'm usually up for anything, but go with the flow may not be a good descriptor either. I like plans. In the morning, I know what I'm fixing for dinner and every other step throughout the day. Knowing this and being honest with yourself and others can save you a lot of time and energy in explaining your actions. In the 60s, spontaneity was valued over planning. I tried hard to go with the flow, but it seemed to me that I wasted a lot of time that way. Going against the grain of my own personality turned out to be a daunting task that really wasn't worth it. The A stands for around-the-clock activities. The around-the-clock category refers to when you like to do things, your biorhythms. Are you a morning person or a night person, for example? And what time of day does your energy peak? If you schedule activities when you are your best, you are respecting your innate biology. While the idea of biorhythm preferences may sound trivial compared to lofty qualities of the self, your daily life is more pleasant when you are in sync with your biology. In every area, it's easier to enjoy life when you don't waste energy pretending to be something you aren't. I'm a morning person. Yep, I said it. Staying up late and sleeping in sounds much more rock and roll, but I have to be true to myself. I like to go to bed at 9 and watch TV. Mindless, ridiculous shows I would be embarrassed to repeat to you. Until I get so sleepy, I drift off, which is usually around 10 or 10:30, which just so happens to be Matt's bedtime. At first, I tried to stay up. Really, I did. But at some point, I just had to be honest with my biorhythm. I like that term instead of just being old and needing more sleep. I'm also way more creative and productive in the AM, which is also hard since I'm a morning person and Matt is not. I know now to ease into a conversation first thing since he wakes up several hours after I've been up. An early riser fueled with coffee can come off like cannons blazing first thing in the morning, or at least that's what it feels like to them. The L stands for life mission and meaningful goals. Ask yourself the question, what have been the most meaningful events of your life? You may discover clues to your hidden identity, to your career, and to life satisfaction. Matching your goal to meaning could just be your life's mission. For me, it always came down to people. I love people, and I genuinely care about them and their well-being. Most importantly, helping them see their true potential. The S stands for strengths. Strengths can include not only abilities, skills, and talents, but also character strengths such as loyalty, respect for others, love of learning, emotional intelligence, fairness, and more. Knowing your strengths is one of the foundations of self-confidence. Not being able to acknowledge your own superpowers could put you on a path to low self-esteem. Becoming a person who takes in the good, listening for compliments and noticing skills that could be clues to their strengths is important. Here's an example. An acquaintance tells you that she loves the soothing sound of your voice. What could you do with that knowledge? Likewise, knowing your weaknesses can help you be honest with yourself and others about what you're not good at. You might decide either to work on those weaknesses or try to make them a smaller part of your personal and professional life. Even if you know your vital signs, it's hard to remain true to yourself because you're constantly changing and because society's values often conflict your own. I love this quote by Gretchen Rubin. My first commandment is to be Gretchen. Yes, it's very hard to know myself. I get so distracted by the way I wish I were or the way I assume I am that I lose sight of what actually is true. We spend so much of our time trying to get somewhere. Get through school, get through college, get a job, get married, get the family, get the better job, get to retirement, get out and see the world. 5, 10, 15-year plans. Now, I'm a goal setter, don't get me wrong. One of the most precious assets is my brainstorming and creativity. I love it. But I've learned something on this journey. Too much focus on the future means you miss the present. It's important to have something to shoot for and something to look forward to, but never lose touch of where you are. There are great things happening right now, right here, right where you are. And if you only set your sights on the future, you may miss them. Just like you are outwardly growing your personal and professional life, you are internally growing yourself. Don't lose sight of the trifecta because they all matter. Noonday Ventures paints the perfect perspective in what if who you're becoming is more important than what you're doing. Troy is a serial entrepreneur, always on the hunt for sharp talent who can help him put legs to his breakthrough ideas. His single favorite question when interviewing, who do you want to be in 5 years? It's not a normal question and probably not one you'll find in your HR manuals. We've heard variations on this question before. What do you want to achieve in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in the company in 5 years? What do you want to be when you grow up? Troy's question puts the emphasis deeper. It shifts attention from resume building to character building. It befuddles most overeager college graduates who have been trained to cultivate their resumes since the 7th grade, to be on a path of advancement through achievement. You can see the wheels turning in their head. Who do I want to be? What does that have to do with anything? I want to have a job and an apartment and a good start on paying off my college debt. That's what I want. Most of them are stumped, but Troy finds the few who aren't, hires them, and then they begin exciting careers in his incubator firm and with someone in his network. Recent college grads aren't the only ones who wrestle with these questions. We live in a score-keeping culture. We grow up with a narrative that says we are our achievements. This shortcuts our development. It keeps us from our bigger achievements. But think about it. Students track GPAs and scores on standardized tests. College applicants compare the rankings of the schools they've accepted to. New college graduates compare starting salaries or brands of their first jobs. Salespeople compare revenues generated. Partners compare books of business and end-of-year bonuses. Executives compare comp packages or the number of employees on their organizational chart. Social media users compare followers or likes or shares. Job seekers compare LinkedIn profiles. The funny thing is that if we thought about this long enough, we would all say it's a bankrupt narrative, that it's based on bad math and how you get the good life. But we pursue it as though it alone holds the secrets to happiness. Every time you arrive at the next ridgeline, you realize that it's a false peak. Someone else is in front of you, higher than you. John faced this several years ago when he was contemplating a career shift. He was doing what most of us do, fixating on making that right choice for his career. He was anxious, feeling stuck, and a little hopeless. He wasn't sleeping because after 6 long months of looking, the right thing to do, the right position, career, hadn't shown up. He'd interviewed for the few rare positions that were right for him and came close, but hadn't gotten a good offer yet. He was miserable, worrying that he would have to do something that would look wrong on his resume, that his uninterrupted career trajectory up to the right might suddenly go sideways. What would that say about his career? What would that say about him? But what if who you're becoming matters more than what you're doing? The question stopped him in his tracks. He realized for a second that maybe his focus was on less important issues. What he was going to do instead of long-term and more crucial concern, who he was becoming. He was a good and creative person, but he was becoming someone who was obsessed with status and scores. That moment opened up a few things that were otherwise closed off by the pressure of choosing the right scorekeeping option. It helped him broaden the definition of success from resume building and income generation to something that lasts much longer. The minute he retires, resume building will be much less important, but who will he have spent his life becoming by that time? He'll live that for the rest of his life. It helped him shift his attention to something more deeply important to him, something more integrated into the full sweep of his life. Career choices and resume building matter, but they live in that career zone. Who you're becoming, a sharp-minded, kind-hearted, persistently positive, and relentless, realistic person that cuts across every part of your life. That's what's important. It affects your workplace, your family, your community. You know it won't emerge magically when you retire after a 40-year habit of single-minded scorekeeping. It's cultivated slowly with great care. What you achieve at work matters as long as you're doing something worth your efforts. But who you're becoming matters even more. No one was created to become more anxious or bitter or isolated. You were created to become more wise and positive and other-centered. In short, you were created to be a giver, even if those around you are takers. Maybe especially if those around you are takers. This transformation has an impact on what you can achieve because becoming who you were created to be will likely increase your capacity to get important things done. Compassionate people are better at employee development and retention. Kind and brilliant managers are better at team building. Truth-telling people inspire trust in those who they deal with. But even better than making you more successful, becoming who you were created to be directly impacts those closest to you, family, friends, colleagues. When combined with contentment, it helps you discover or rediscover joy. And joy beats simple accomplishment with a stick every day. I too used to be defined by my accomplishments. I can remember that decade or two just putting my head down and rushing to the finish line, trying to get higher and go further. It was my only mission. Now, of course, I had friends and I felt like I was nice to people, but I didn't really lift my head to look around me. I was so focused on getting to that next milestone that I missed what was going on in the present. Now, some of it comes with age and trials and tribulations. I've always said it's either you beat your head against the wall or you have an enlightening moment, an aha. Wow, this is what life is all about. Youth is wasted on the young. But finally, I was able to go a little deeper, really try to understand who I was and what I wanted and how that could impact the world. And I wanted to connect and I wanted to help. And I feel like working on those core values has really changed my trajectory. Now, I feel accomplished in a different way. It's not a number or scorekeeping. It's how I make someone else feel. Was I able to offer words of encouragement that help them have a better day or see a new perspective or get to a new vantage point? That is soul nourishing. Those are the numbers that can't be measured, but will last a lifetime. So now I try to get a good, healthy balance. Obviously, I still work. I can't go out and just save the world or try, but I can take every opportunity to connect with those around me, understand where they are in their journey, and encourage. And in turn, it allows me to grow. Thank you for sticking with me. We talked about looking in the mirror for the who instead of the what. And I hope you've been able to pick up a few things that you might see in a different light. The fact that you're human, it's okay to be human. We are going to make mistakes. We can start looking at the things around us and want those things, want to emulate what we see. That's human, A lot of us have a competitive spirit, but just put some perspective to it. What we see is just the highlight reel. We aren't seeing what's really happening or how much time, effort, and energy went into that accolade. They've got it, I want it. Now, if you knew what they did to get it, would you still want it? Something to think about. We talked about what to do instead of comparing ourselves to others. It's hard to do. Social media is all around us, in the news, on the highlight reels of the movies and the trailers and the award shows, endless award shows, right? But accepting who we are is the best way for moving forward. Loving your past, knowing that this isn't it. We've got more to come. So keep making strides in the right direction. Don't stay stuck because you can't have what someone else has today, right? Stop shoulding yourself. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. So keeping a healthy mix, learning your professional persona versus your personal one and trying to mix the two. I bet there's a healthy dose in there of each of those. We talked about the vitals. Wasn't that interesting? Keeping your vitals, your values, interests, learning your temperament. Also, your around-the-clock activities. When are you're most productive? Knowing your life mission and doing that by understanding what is meaningful to you, your strengths, your skills. Just being the best that you can be, right? Who do you want to be in 5 years? It's never too late. And even if you've listened to this and thought, wow, I really have been focusing on the what, make a shift, take a turn, and start learning more about you. It will help you navigate the rest of your journey. If you want to share encouragementology with a friend who needs to know they're not alone in this journey of self-discovery, you can visit encouragementology.com or anywhere you stream your content to receive this episode and all others. Follow us on Facebook for additional encouragement throughout the week. So I challenge you, look in the mirror with a different focus. Instead of noticing all that is wrong, take special interest in all that is right and worth exploring to deepen and strengthen who you were meant to be, who you are will always return the brightest reflection. I know you can do it. Thank you for listening to Encouragementology with Kendall Boyson, where we find positive ways to handle some of life's challenges.
I stumbled through until the path was clear. That's when I found you, how I wound up here.